This is a story about a little silky chicken who was born into a big flock of chickens.
She didn't know that she was special until one day when she looked up in the sky and saw that all of the birds were flying away from home.
Little did she know that this would be the happiest day in her life.
She was so little that she couldn't fly, but she really wanted to. So she tried and eventually started to float a little bit above the ground. And then something amazing happened. While she was floating, she met a friendly blue jay who helped her to soar higher and higher in the sky. The two became best friends and spent all of their time flying around the farm together. One day they flew over the meadow where all of the sheep were grazing, and they decided to land in the middle of the flock. The sheep were so surprised to see a tiny chicken trying to land with them that they all started to stare at her. But little Silky wasn't afraid. She walked right up to the biggest ram and looked him in the eye and said, "Hello, my name is Silky, and I would like to join your flock." The ram was very confused and asked her why she wanted to join them, since she was a chicken and they were sheep. She told him that she didn't want to live on a farm anymore, and that she wanted to live in the wild and be free. The ram thought for a moment, and then he finally agreed to let her stay with them. From that day on, Silky lived with the sheep, and she learned how to graze, and she also learned how to use her wings to protect herself from predators. One day, while they were all grazing in the meadow, a fox came running through the grass. He was hungry, and he was looking for something to eat. When he saw all of the sheep, he started to salivate because he knew that they tasted delicious. But before he could do anything, Silky flew down from the sky and landed on his head. She pecked him as hard as she could, and the fox was so surprised that he ran away without even saying a word. All of the sheep were so grateful to Silky because if it wasn't for her, the fox would have eaten one of them. They all cheered and clapped and thanked her for saving their lives. After that day, the fox never came back to the meadow because he was afraid of Silky, and all of the sheep lived happily ever after. Once upon a time in a far-off land, there was a little silky chicken who lived on a farm with a farmer and his family. She was the smallest chicken on the farm, and she always felt left out because the farmer and his kids would always play with the bigger chickens, but never with her. She was so sad that she would spend all of her time alone in the chicken coop just dreaming of the day when she would finally get to play with the others. One day, the farmer and his kids got in their truck and drove all of the chickens to the county fair.
They entered all of the chickens in the animal show, and they all won first place because they were so big and fluffy.
But Silky was too scared to go in the animal show, so she stayed in the truck the entire time. When the fair was over, the family got back in the truck and started to drive home. But Silky didn't want to go back to the chicken coop, so she jumped out of the truck and ran away. She ran as fast as she could, but she didn't know where she was going, and she soon got lost. She was so scared and alone, and she started to cry. But then she heard a voice that said, "Why are you crying?" She turned around and saw a wise old owl sitting in a tree.
She told the owl all about her problems, and the owl listened patiently.
When she was done, the owl said, "You shouldn't feel bad about yourself just because you're small. You are special just the way you are." Silky thanked the owl for the advice, and then she flew home to the chicken coop. When the farmer and his kids saw that she had escaped, they were so worried that they got back in their truck and started to look for her. They looked everywhere, but they couldn't find her anywhere. They were so sad because they loved Silky, and they didn't want anything to happen to her. After they had been searching for hours, they finally found her in the chicken coop, and they were so relieved.
They hugged her and told her how much they loved her, and they promised her that they would never forget her again.
From that day on, Silky was never left out again, and she lived happily ever after. Once upon a time in a far-off land, there was a little silky chicken who was born into a big flock of chickens. She was the smallest chicken in the flock, and she was always getting bullied by the other chickens. They would make fun of her and they would push her around, and she was so tired of it that she decided to run away from home. She didn't know where she was going, but she didn't care because she was too busy being angry at the other chickens. She walked for hours and hours, and finally she came across a beautiful meadow. It was full of flowers and butterflies, and she had never seen anything like it before. She took a deep breath and relaxed for the first time since she had left home. As she was walking through the meadow, she saw a group of rabbits playing, and she joined them. They all played together for hours, and Silky forgot all about her problems back home. One of the rabbits, whose name was Hops, asked her why she was so sad, and she told him all about the bullying chickens. Hops and his friends were so sorry to hear that, and they invited her to stay and live with them in the meadow. Silky was so happy because she didn't want to go back to the chicken coop. She spent all of her time playing with the rabbits, and she was the happiest she had ever been.
One day, some of the chickens from her flock found her, and they tried to make her come back with them.
They said that they were sorry for bullying her, and that they wanted her to be a part of the flock again. But Silky didn't want to go back.
She was living the best life with the rabbits, and she didn't want to change anything.
She told the chickens that she didn't want to come back, and they all left her alone after that. And Silky lived happily ever after with her new family of rabbits. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be the first to watch our new videos. Thanks for watching.